Hey there guys, so obviously you can see that is a pretty big transformation from the last video, and that was because I couldn't film anymore during that time and I was trying to get that video exported. Pretty much took the front and rear fenders off and just did a complete thorough cleaning of the whole thing. Basically they're crisp super clean. So as you can see, I wheeled it back in here and you can really see, if you notice in the other videos, how rusty this front part was and the sides. I kind of went over some spray paint and just kind of covered up most of the rust areas to prevent it in the future. And this oil cooler was probably one of the most disgusting things I had ever seen. But basically this little top part was the only thing that was open. The whole bottom part down there was completely clogged up. So I had this outside, I ran a hose over it on the jet setting and just went in between all these little bitty rows right here with the wire brush going this way. And I really cleaned a lot of that crap out. That is definitely a lot more clear. The fan shroud as well as the whole fan was completely clogged up, so I cleaned all that crap out. I tested the fan motor and it does work, so that's good. That's one less thing I have to buy for this thing. So anyway, let's reinstall this thing back in here. So it is the next day and all the paint is dry right now. So what we're gonna do now is reinstall the storage box. Alright, so after messing around a little bit, the fender is now on there. So let's install the rack. So I just used this Meguiar's high gloss protectant here with the microfiber towel. Just kind of went over all these plastics right here. And yeah, they definitely look a lot better than what they did before. So let's get them on there. Boom. Let's do the same thing to the other side. Boom. So I got the winch controller all mounted back in place. So now let's put the new battery back in. So the brakes and the shock bushings are not enough to convince you on the back end that I gotta do all the suspension because the shock bushings are also bad on this. Well, take a look at this. That is the wheel bearing. The wheel bearings in this thing are completely shot. Like when I was driving this thing down the road, it was doing all like this. You know what guys, just for fun, just like I did the Honda Rancher 420, let's just see if the four-wheel drive works. Obviously we're in two-wheel drive. Front diff is open. Got the key on. Four-wheel drive should be engaged. And look at that, it is. But if you also look, the front differential is open. And sometimes, four-wheel drive with the front open diff can screw you over in some situations. So if we look, there's a front differential lock. So if we flip that over, that locks the front diff. So it is actually four-wheel drive and not just three-wheel drive. Alright guys, so I got the wheel bearing out finally after hammering it off the CV axle, but it's all off now. Luckily it came apart fairly easy-ish because I use PB Blaster. So what we have here is a brand new high quality muffler bearing we're going to be installing in this muffler to help with better exhaust flow. No, I'm just joking. This is a new wheel bearing that we're going to be putting in the hub after beating the other one out with a hammer. And here it is in all its formal glory. And just like that, the new bearing is in with anti-seize all around it, so it'll come off much easier next time if I gotta replace it. Alright, so this is a pretty big update. Long story short, I have ordered a rear master cylinder for this and a rear caliper for this to try to get it working, and the wrong master cylinder showed up, so I had to send that back, and I tried to clean out that master cylinder and nothing worked. I just wanted to get some brakes working on this, so instead I just kind of said screw all that, and I took that caliper off, and oh, wait till you guys see this. And I put that caliper up on the front because the caliper that came off of it, well, it came literally just like this, and check that out. They ran this thing with no brake pads whatsoever. I mean, it's rednecks, what do you expect? So yeah, this was pretty much completely destroyed. And this master cylinder up here, I actually got it to free off. I sprayed some PB Blaster in it and worked some brake fluid in there and stuff like that, and I actually got this freed off, and it actually does work because it was pushing fluid out of that old caliper down there. So this brake, there's a T right there just the front, and there's one caliper on the back, and it actually seems to be working. I need to go through and just kind of final bleed them. But yeah, it's actually doing not too bad. Now finally, with the brakes and all that installed, I also had to JB weld this two mounts together because they were pretty broken. Now we can install the front fender. So let's do some more crisp fix and get these old disgusting plastics another super clean. And after. And now we're gonna get these wheels of crisp fix super clean. So since the tires and everything are off of it, I think it'll be not a bad idea to change the front diff fluid. Yeah, that's in pretty bad condition. And there's one side. Boom. Now with anti-seize on all the bolts, let's throw the wheels back on it. Boom. Brakes actually do work. So right now I got the whole LCD screen apart right now, and I kind of went through and cleaned up the glass, and yeah, it's not perfect. It has some little bit of scratches in it, but whatever. It is what it is. If I can get it working with the screen, that'll be awesome, but if not, I've ridden a foiler for years without one, and it'll be fine without it. But I saw a video on YouTube on how to fix this. I'll put a link to his video down below if you want to go watch it. He basically fixed it on a Kawasaki Prairie, so I'm gonna kind of do the same concept by fixing it on this Arctic Cat. All right, guys, so I got one side of the film done, and I think I'm getting somewhere now because we flipped that on. It's kind of hard for you to see, but I can see it okay. So I'm gonna get the front one on, which is right here. Oh, wow, I can see it now. And I'm just gonna kind of turn it and adjust it and find where it's good and then mark it and cut it. Meow. Meow. Come here, kitty. With that lined up right there, you can actually see it. All right, guys, so it's nighttime out here. Let's cut it on and see what we got. Well, you can't really see anything now, but, oh, there we go. Now it's working. That's awesome. And the bright light works as well. Try starting it. So I don't know if I forgot to mention this, but the rear axle is actually leaking a little bit right there. Well, you can't really see it, but it was leaking when I was driving it around. So I got some new rear axles here, or rear axle seals. And it's just this side. That side seems fine. So the CV axle is finally out, and I'm draining the fluid right now. It's not too horrible. It looks probably the same condition as the front diff, and there's the seal right there. And oh yeah, that thing is definitely shot. All right, so after using vice grips and, cutting dikes and crap, I finally got the seal out because that thing was just wanting to be welded in there and not wanting to come out, as with everything on this four-wheeler. So I cleaned up the CV axle. I got my fluid here, just kind of oiling up the new seal right there, and just kind of installing it right now. I cleaned out the inside of the case, and I just kind of got a hammer and punch and just kind of tapped in there. It's very tricky getting it started the first time I fell in that fluid, and that was kind of frustrating. I had to clean all that again. So I got it in there, flush all the way around the case, and it looks pretty good. So now we're gonna reinstall the CV axle. Perfect. So the other thing I'm going to be doing is replacing it with some good quality fuel line, because I do not trust the cheesy China puny little fuel line that came from China that came with this carburetor. And boom, there we go. So now let's get these pieces clean real quick. Now let's get the old side panels back on. Yeah, I know the paint's a little bit faded right here. Maybe I can try to find another decal to go over it. Alrighty guys, as you can see, I've been riding the thing. What I'm doing now is replacing the brake pads. Yeah, from first glance they don't look too bad, but look at that. That is worn down past the backing plate. I mean, these things are just completely and utterly shot. As you can see, these actually have materials on them, not just a backing plate. So let's get these reinstalled. All right, so I am on the front brakes right now, and I am not only replacing the pads, I'm also replacing this rotor, because not only is it pretty scored up, even though I've smoothed it off, but if you look at it, it is actually bent. Yeah, I don't know how well you can see that, but that is definitely bent. And it's all like doing like this and crap, and it's probably gonna do damage to the caliper and stuff. So I bought a new one. You can definitely see how bent that crap is. So here's some more crisp fix, out with the old and in with the new. Just like that, we got the tire back on it. And just so you know, this is why I much prefer disc brakes. It's so easy to put all that together, there's no frustration, and they work in the end. When you got something like drum brakes that are like 10 times complicated and crap, especially after you put on a new master cylinder, new wheel cylinders and everything, and they still don't work, that is a very frustrating process. So I took this thing down the road with the new brakes. They work pretty dang well, I will say. I mean, they will come to a complete stop and about skid the tires. You may also notice that the cover for the clutch is off right here. And the reason I was playing with that was because, as I mentioned before in the last video, this thing was shifting a little funny. Like there was a ton of like slop going down when you're downshifting, and when you kind of upshift, it kind of really wanted to bang hard going into the third gear. This nut right here, this is for the main clutch, like the actual clutch on here. And I had that tightened all the way in because I thought if you tighten it in, that pushes the thing over more, which will engage the clutch quicker. But apparently not, because I turned it all the way out, and I really didn't look at the design when I had this apart. When you turn it out, apparently that's when it contacts the clutch a little bit better. And this nut right here, I was very, very, very confused about this nut. I tried looking everywhere. I couldn't really find a whole lot of information about this. All I could find was just one single one. But the secondary one, that actually adjusts the play you have in the shifter. So when that's all the way up, that's like downshift play, and when that's all the way down, that's upshift play. I kind of have this in the middle, slightly toward up, and I got it to where it shifts how it's supposed to. I thought I put something together wrong in the case, but I'm so glad I did not. I don't have to go in there again. So basically, this was like a ton of slop all the way down, and it wouldn't do anything. And, you know, it's supposed to have a little bit of play, but like, it was just a crazy amount going down. So I got it to where it shifts good. It doesn't bang hard in all the gears and everything. So I'm just gonna leave that at that. And the last thing I gotta do is adjust the valves, because I did tighten them up one time before, but there's still a lot of tiggity going on, and that kind of thing just bothers me. So I'm gonna go and, well, probably gotta take all this crap off again after I just put it back on, and readjust the valves, tighten them up a little bit. Alright guys, so I'm going to call the video off right here because I'm loading all this stuff up, and this four-wheeler just fits in the back of my truck. Like, it is like very, very, very tight, but I did get it in there, and with the bike in there as well, and with the gas can, so that's good. I'm going to Mini Mayhem, Busco Beach with cars and cameras. And yeah, I think this thing should do pretty good. Everything seems to be fine right now, because usually with the motor, it's either blown up after a couple of seconds you crank it up, or it's gonna run fine, and it's running fine. So hopefully it'll be fine, because this is for testing purposes only.